Good evening, everyone. I welcome all the panelists over here, and it's such a wonderful day with the Chandrayaan launch today, and also Merino Laminates is launching their new series. So, welcome to my panelists, and I would love to, why don't I give the mic to them now, and then please tell us something about you.
So I'm Shweta Kaw and I'm the principal of Studio Meraki in Noida. And I have around 17 plus years of experience with a degree in building performance and sustainability from NUS.
So myself, Piyush Mittal, Director Nesford Private Limited. We are majorly into bespoke residentials, ranging from all the projects from structural architectural till the very last interiors.
Hi, I'm Sparshi Gupta. I'm the principal architect at Design Foundation. We are an architecture and interior design studio based in Gurgaon. And I have a decade of experience in doing architectural projects, which are primarily in residential and commercial. And we also do bespoke interiors.
Okay, so hi, I'm Vistasp. I head my firm called AVA. I've been doing this for 30 years, and we're into a lot of commercial, hospitality, and related work. We do not see any difference between architecture and interiors and product design, and we actually try and blur the boundaries and try and look at design 360 degrees.
And this studio has been designed by you. You can add on to that. Yes.
Yeah, we love this place. I think it's a great venue. Congratulations to Merino. I don't know how many shoots you've had here, but it looks to be an awesome setting, and I hope we have fun.
And it's almost been a year, as you said that.
It's been a year.
And I'm the moderator for today for Creative Minds Meet. I'm Love Choudhary, design founder of Architecture and Design Studio, Delhi. So today's topic is materials matter. So I would just lay out the question over there for the panelists to come up with the thought process. So Piyush, you tell me, does materials really matter?
Yeah, I personally believe yes, material does matter, and in a very deeper way. Because I personally believe as a human, we perceive designs in two levels. One is conscious and the other one is subconscious. So the material, the materiality and everything is touched on the second level. So whenever I'll say, think of a yellow elephant, you immediately think of an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the subconscious thing that's working on. So I think materiality is very important because it touches the level 2. It touches the very deep design that we're talking about.
Good point, I would say that. Shweta, your thoughts?
Of course, materials is as important as form or function. So it's the materiality through which our human bodies touch the spaces, and it releases a chemical in our brain. We experience an emotion, and the way we familiarize ourselves in a space, our social behaviors, everything depends on what we touch. And however, of course, I mean, our choice for materials, when you're doing a building or an interiors, it depends on the aesthetics, the cost considerations. But I think, I mean, it might sound a bit negative, but these days the clients, as we were speaking about, informed or misinformed, or the advent of social media. So I think mostly people tend to forget that the floors and the walls are not just a backdrop for showcasing their accessories or furniture. It's the soul of the place. So yeah, I would say material is the soul of the place.
Hashtag Delhi rains and hashtag Delhi traffic. We have another panelist who's just joined us. Please, Priyanka.
Hi, I'm Priyanka Singh from Chalk Studio. We're an interior design based out of Gurgaon. We do a lot of commercial spaces, we do a lot of apartments. And it's been 5 years for us, and we do almost 45 people now. And yeah, I'm just here sort of being a part of this panel. It's amazing. So thank you for calling me in.
You're welcome. Thank you. So as we were speaking about the topic today, which is materials matter, what's your take on that?
Of course they matter. Like, I don't think there's like a negative take on it. No, I think like she mentioned as well, like before, right? They make the heart of the space. Mm-hmm. Although, on the contrary, it would be really interesting to see one space that's only one material throughout. Mm-hmm. That would be a fun experiment to do at one point.
Just so that also proves materials matter.
Yeah, exactly.
One material.
Yeah.
What about you, sir? You have designed the studio, so why don't you give us an insight?
How exactly materials really matter. This was a place which was meant to sell a whole lot of materials, and I think the entire approach was how dexterously can you handle each of the materials. So we had one common material, which you can see this black Louis panel on all the all this amoebic shelving around, and then we had the range of other stuff all on the periphery. Look, coming back to the main question, I think material does matter because at the end as architects, we're looking at what form and function to break it down into the basics. And then when you're done with the function side of things, which is really the spatial experiences and the planning of that, you're actually looking at the form and what is it in the form that really hits you. It's the materials, it's the finishes. And I think that's where the correct appropriate choice of materials can create the kind of mood and the kind of impact that you need, and that sort of strengthens your design conviction, that brings across a certain level of conversation. So, a good design needs to have a conversation with the end user. And I think material plays a major role in enhancing that level of conversation.
Interesting. So, as you said that it is about the conversation, we'll take that forward. So what is the approach towards materiality when we are designing, or what's the design process like, and how does material really influence that? So Piyush?
Personally, I believe it does impact the design overall. Yes, if I'm designing something neoclassical, of course, I would love to have those materials that have those textures to it particularly. I would not be really going for a high gloss finish. And similarly, if I'm designing something that needs to have that sheen, it needs to reflect something. It needs to be high gloss. It needs to be a little shiny. So of course, the textures, the materials matter a lot when it comes to design part. And whenever me as an architect, whenever I design something, of course, it's the end result that matters the most. And I think that is the conviction that we have, and that is just because of a material or a particular specific touch that I want out of that space, simply.
Shweta, do you have any other thought process about it?
Yeah, I think we all agree with Piyush that I can imagine anything on the planet, on the face of this planet, but to be able to sculpt that form, I need the appropriate material. It needs a vocabulary. So, yeah, I mean, I cannot do anything without a proper material in place with all its physical, chemical properties, maintenance, everything taken together. I can build a space only when I have the appropriate material for it.
Great. Sparshi, I will twist a little this for you. So, while designing, is it possible that you think of a material first and then the space?
See, at times I would say material defines the form, but a lot of times forms also define a material. For example, if I'm designing an architectural space which needs big cantilevers, so like steel and concrete are materials which provide me that flexibility to give bigger spans, bigger cantilevers, and I can play with forms. So when I want to do that, I will choose my material first and then go for that kind of a fluid form or a more larger than life form. So yeah, I would say that is possible.
Taking it from the outside to inside?
Yes.
What about you?
I think it's all great in material selection, but then for me specifically, I can choose like the best materials in the world, but if I don't have craftsmanship in India to achieve the finishing, then it all like is pointless. So I think it's more than material. I would say like if we can find like the correct vendors, contractors to bring that vision to life, which I think everyone agrees with, like a big task, right? Like getting the right contractor, the right team on board, makes like a huge difference.
So you're saying the application part of it is much more important than choosing the material?
No, I think it's equally important, but like I think people forget that with materials, you also have to choose the right team to deliver that product, right?
So I'd like to blow a myth that, we normally saying that, you must use Italian marble.
Yeah,
nonsense.
nonsense.
You must use the costliest materials because the costlier the material, the more luxurious the space. It's amazing how the simplest of materials used appropriately, and appropriate is a word I'm going to use so many times today because I think materials is all about appropriate selection. And then, it's about the kind of experience you want to give to people. And I think, luxury has nothing to do with the opulence of the base material. Luxury has got everything to do with the appropriateness of material on the appropriate surfaces in a manner that's durable, sustainable, viable, all the ables need to be around,
And just good
to really define
functionality
it.
and like just good finishing through and through.
Yeah.
Like this
So
table, you can see like there's a tapered edge over here.
So we have a lot of
Yeah.
clients who say, oh, you're not using Italian marble. We say, no, Kota stone is what we need here, because we want to be able to walk barefoot on Kota stone. Or we want to have brick, the real brick, not the clay tile that is clad on, because of the imperfections of work that you just mentioned. So I think it's all about that. I think appropriateness of the material and the choice of it is very important. And that leads to another discussion. And I'll be a part moderator for a while.
Sure.
The other discussion is that what is an appropriate material? Is an appropriate material a natural material, or is it a fake material or a look-alike material? And that's an interesting question to throw to everybody. I mean, as architects and designers, we all are sort of bred on the actual material. You want the actual thing. You want that actual feel. You don't want to have something, which is a look-alike.
Or imitation.
But then we're sitting in a laminate, showroom, and a laminate is is an application. It's not the real material.
Yeah.
Does that mean laminates are not good to use?
Not
Throw
at
the
all.
question open.
Not at all. I think they're fantastic to use, especially what we've been internal. I think that has to be done internally. 0.8 mm, 1 mm laminates are the best way to go forward. Veneer with a period of time will sort of lose its shine. It will need rebuffing. So, like for me, it's a very clear-cut answer for that. It's like
I think it's not about natural or look-alike. It's more about what the material has to offer us in terms of cost. When we relate it to the entire project, sustainability, functionality. So all these factors, aesthetics.
Yes.
So these factors come in and they become the deciding factor. It's, I think, no longer about natural or look-alike.
What do you say, Love?
I would say it's also the viability of the project, right? You don't want to end up with a finished project.
That's what I said. It's
and
the
not,
cost.
spend, like you said,
Yeah.
Italian marbles and you spend 10,000 rupees a square foot on a floor and then you don't have anything to put up as furniture. So yes, viability is something that I would like to add. And
Right. What about you? What do you say about this?
Yeah, of course. I feel again like I'm a bit from the background of sustainability, and there are a lot of choices that we always need to make. So we always strive to choose materials which have a low embodied energy. And like for example, recently I was reading something that there's a startup. They are producing bricks made of the crop waste. That's being done in Punjab, and what happens. So obviously there are a lot of interesting materials now in the market. They're replacing plywood, a lot of things. So I mean, of course, the point is the affordability, and probably we cannot afford those materials on a larger scale right now, and there are other options. So there is this balance that we need to create. There is cost, there is aesthetics, there is toxicity of materials, there are a lot of other properties as well, the insulating properties, the maintenance, the tensile strength. So it's not just one or two factors. So a lot of them, and of course the client is another. Like they already have, normally these days they already have a preset idea of what they want. So I have a client in Srinagar, and I am from Srinagar, and I know that Srinagar is wooden houses. But they've seen Scandinavian houses and they want a marble floor. They want a concrete building. And I'm just trying to explain to him that it's going to be cold. It's not going to feel warm. But marble floor and everything is white is what they aspire to be. So everything is aspirational. Homes are just aspirational. So it's just like, even if I want to use something, the client is fascinated with white. So
I've sort of figured out that, when you speak to clients, you need to really look at 4 things. I call them the 4 C's of, based on which you select materials or approaches to design, not just materials. The materials are a very important part. You look at the climate where you're building, as you just said.
That's the most important.
You look at the context, whether it's a hill, whether it's a geographical
local
context,
availability.
Near the water, whatever. You then look at culture, what's the culture of the space, and then finally you look at the cost. and the client. The cost and the client are related. So these are the 4 C's that I think allow you to really drive the right materiality, whether it's architectural materials, whether it's interior materials. I think it just gives you a framework to select things appropriately.
I think on a lighter note, I'll add another C, which is the check that I get. So yes.
That's the top of the list.
Cost
So-
check,
Exactly.
Cost.
So we have another panelist joining us, Manjari. Please introduce yourself to the panel.
Okay, so this is Manjari Sharma. I'm the founder of Vagma Designs LLP, and we are established in DLF Phase 2, Gurgaon. It's been almost 19 years and 600 projects we have completed.
Oh wow.
Our specialization is residential interiors.
Great.
Though we do exterior facades also, but that is very limited to few of the clients only. So focused on interiors.
Great. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does materials matter?
Definitely matters.
Could you elaborate on it?
Yeah. So for me, like whenever we are thinking about design, before getting into the design process, we definitely need to understand that kind of material we are going to introduce. And it doesn't only depend on the design, and it doesn't only depend on my choice. It depends on the circumstances, the client's taste, then their means how they are going to maintain it further. So it is not every time that people are looking for economical product, but definitely they are looking for product which is long lasting, easy to maintain, and quality, value for money. So I'm very fascinated with the materials available in our industry, but somehow there are few limitations also which we can work out how we can overcome with that.
Great. I just want to play around with
It's
the
very
questions.
interesting to
Yeah,
see
please.
if someone says, no, they don't matter at all.
Yeah,
I would want to see
that's rootless architecture, right? That would happen in that. You would
Yeah.
play with only 3 materials, maybe concrete, steel, wood,
But it
and
still
glass.
matter in that material, right? So like, if someone actually comes up and says no, it don't matter, and like they create
I can buy
someone,
anything
yeah.
I want.
Like I think Steve once mentioned, like he would want to have a house that basically, like he did not have furniture in his house, right? He had no materials as such, no bed, no furniture. Like one mattress on the floor, and that's about it.
I think Elon Musk does that. He's actually,
Yeah.
on the couch or on a minimalist kind of a thing.
Minimalist,
Yes.
but
That's his only
It's
furniture.
because he could never figure out anything that was like good enough for him.
Okay.
So
Great.
I think at one point, even Saran had said that it'd be really interesting in the future to see like sitting on air, like you had enough air pressure on the bottom, so you could just really lift up and just sit in air. So no material as such throughout.
Yeah.
You're eating your food
You can do
in
that
air.
in
Big
space.
high as well.
Although we
But-
provided a bathtub for a client, which was like a free-form bathtub, liquid bathtub, and
Lovely.
that gives a similar feeling. That's
Wow.
interesting.
Sounds
Yeah.
nice.
So I'll throw in concept of tactility in architecture using materials. So do you love to play around with materials? Piyush, what about you? What's your favorite material in the last 1 year that you would have used a lot?
Concrete.
Oh, that's a given. That's a given. Let's say, what do you dress up on top of a concrete?
I would rather have something of dead matte veneer with open grains on it.
Not because you're sitting in a
Exterior.
laminated review showroom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would love to have some laminate over it, some matte finish over it. But I think majorly, it's when we talk about the touch and feel that we're talking about, I think it's all about the expression that we carry. Of course, as an architect, I have some aspirations to build something like that, something like this. Of course, whatever we do it for the clients, right? If it's for my own house, I would choose whatever I want to. But if it's for the client, we have to eventually understand what they want out of their space, whether it's residential or a commercial or whatever we want to design for them. So at the end of the day, it's the expression that counts, I think. So every material has an expression to it, whether it's like a shiny surface, whether it's a matte surface, whether it's anything, whatever. So everything is related to an expression. I think that expression should be followed throughout, so that at the end of the day, you get that expression out of the space that you're designing.
Interesting. Sparshi, your take?
So yeah, exploring materials in different forms is always fun, and a material also defines how the end user feels in the space. Like if I have an exposed brickwork and wood in the whole space, it gives a very rustic and a warm feel, versus if I have glass and steel all over, which might feel a little colder. So exploring different materials, and even with same material you can do different finishes, so that also creates a varied juxtapositions. So as architects, I feel we can play a lot with materials, explore materials in various forms, and even with the same material you can do different finishes and achieve a unique product. Like even for flooring, the same floor, same stone, you can either have it in a polished finish, and versus if you do it in a lepato finish or a leather finish, it gives a completely different feel and feel and color. Maybe even the color changes if you change the finish of the material. So yeah.
So I think your question was, what's your favorite material?
Yeah.
She's not
In the
answered
last
that.
1 year. She is
Okay.
thinking of that. We'll come back to her again.
Okay, no, I have the answer for that
Please,
as well. I
please.
was answering the first part.
Okay.
He asked, how do you handle
Tactility,
tactility
yes,
of
yes.
a material?
Okay.
So in the last 1 year, I would say wood has been one of our favorite material. We've used it in various forms, various colors, various finishes, be it a CNC cut screen or a movable partition which a user can change as per their requirement, or be it in doors or claddings. So I think wood is a very universal material which you can play with and achieve a lot of different finishes, and it adds a lot of warmth to a space as well.
Great.
So the material I love and swear by, I just did a hotel in Goa, is terracotta. And terracotta, not just through the roof tiles, the clay tiles, but also the brick, also laterite, which is also terracotta, which is an awesome material, very undervalued but wonderful. I think the warmth that terracotta brings in a tropical climate like ours is just amazing. The way it combines with greens and natural elements with the blue sky. I think that's really
It's an
an
earthy
awesome
material which merges, kind of the architecture is there. You have added on, you have not added on, kind of just binds.
And
Your take?
contrast with white is also amazing.
Exactly. Though it could be even paint as well, right? Please, Shweta.
Okay, talking about tactility, I think, what I touch is, so for example, there's a railing that's made of wood versus a handle that's made of metal, that's cold. Now, if I suppose interchange these things, my experience is different.
True.
The whole atmosphere changes. So I would just like to cite an example where I went to Lucknow 2 months back, and I was doing this. There's this heritage walk that happens. So they have a cobbled street there. So what I noticed was that just because the material changes, the influx of traffic reduces. People pause. Their movement is slower, so they are able to, the splendor of the Imambara, they're all able to just pause and, kind of see everything. So it's just in the urban areas as well. And like, for example, there are certain, there's grass, there is a tenderness of the grass which makes us feel more relaxed, and you want to pause and breathe. Then you have the rubberized courts for, say, running. They propel movement, they instill a sense of pace and freedom. So I think everything is just about touch and feel and what it evokes in us. And that is what is about it. And about talking about my favorite material, of course, wood, definitely, hands down. I've been doing Khatam Band flooring in Srinagar. I'm just hill obsessed, maybe. So yeah, that's there. And since I do a lot of furniture as well, of course, Korean has been there. It's been a long time, but I have been exploring a lot of shapes, curvilinear shapes in furniture. So, Korean, of course, is a very fascinating material for me, because a lot of times what wood cannot achieve, Korean can achieve when I'm doing a lot of products and furniture. So that is another one.
Marble for me. Also, the workmanship in India is extremely good with marble. It's one of our core strengths.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people that sort of encash on that.
Okay.
So, like mentioned, curves and all, if you just get the right people to do it, it can look so beautiful. Like all the curves in marble, countertops. I'm a big fan of putting on dining tables. center tables, side tables. It just lasts longer and it doesn't have to be Italian like he mentioned. It can be like a very Indian marble as well. And I think it
the
works.
best marbles are Indian marbles.
Yes,
Until
that
we
was.
see
course,
them in a
it's
Valentino
our
store in
strength.
Delhi. Then we realized that this is something that we could use that. Yeah.
I
The
love
best
what.
marbles go from here.
Yeah,
abroad.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And we
It's-
buy them at that value and bring them back.
Yes. So we
And
all
that's
go
the
to the
trend.
Salone fair, we see, oh, this is the Indian marble, now this is the next thing, and then we start using it. Manjari, your take, please.
So, and in continuation with her, I also very much in love with the stone and all types of stones. So whether it's granite, Italian marble, or Indian stones, everything is very close to our heart, and the kind of style we pick in our design is also very, very complementing to each other. So she said, and she mentioned it really well, that this is like how we touch and feel. And accordingly, we need to introduce our materials. So we love to play with the texture, matte, shine, all finished types of feel of marble, and this brings the luxury we want to bring in our spaces.
So on a lighter note, Merino is now going to start stone veneer in a big way, because most panelists have said stone. I guarantee it, within the year, Merino will launch stone veneer.
Interesting.
It started on this table and we're all going to earn royalty.
We can have a note of this, please. Please, Piyush, would you like to?
Simply, like of course, the question has been answered about the best part, what I love to use. Recently, I did a site, in the elevation, I've used concrete and I've used aluminium panels with some coating on it. So the contrast that I get out of it, whether it's in the sun or whether it's in the night, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
So it's all about the expression that I want out of a house. It's all like an expression or touch and feel that you want. Eventually, of course, आप हमेशा कोई चीज़ को टच नहीं कर सकते. इतनी बार हमारी आंखें टच कर रही होती है कि हाँ वहाँ पे वो शीन पिक हो गई, वहाँ वो मैट आ गया. So that's the expression that you get out of that space.
Right.
So I think that is very important.
So I think I would like to add, because materials has a deeper connection on our built environment, right? And also the human behavior. Coming down to your studio when you're working on a project, does the emotions that you actually come up with while doing a project affect your selection of materials?
Oh, that's a very interesting question.
Like the emotional project, like what? I didn't
Like
get
you had a
it.
bad day and you're doing a certain selection.
You select a bad material.
That's what I just answered.
No. I don't think
How
it
do you
like
train
works.
your people, like your designers? Obviously, like you mentioned, you have a 40+ team, and it's you heading the team, right?
Yeah.
But how does the information or the education go down to your team? How do you make sure that they are learning what you have learned?
Because every Friday we have like a session at our office from 11 to 1. We call in all vendors, all collaborators come in, showcase the
Marino
materials.
has come for you as of now? Marino has done some presentation? Okay, good.
From lighting to marble to everything, they come and showcase their samples, the pricing, the lead time. So I think everyone like on top of what's happening in the market. We're all always up to date. It's a good thing that we do in the studio. And I think I don't really think that having a bad day can ever affect the materials in a project, because it's like such a long drawn process in terms of design as well. I don't think one odd day here or there would make such a big impact on the project.
Could be the client has a bad day. and the client, the bad day of the client really affects you.
Yeah.
And he forces you to select some wrong materials. But I think as architects, we all are guardians of design.
Yeah, and we'll
And we are
always
the
push back.
gatekeepers of,
Yeah.
of everything that's correct, authentic, appropriate. As I said, I'll say that word many times. I think materiality is the most important thing. Let's look at it this way. What do clients pay us for? They pay us for two things: to get the spatial experience right and to get the material palette right. If you really break it down, it's down to that. Everything else is secondary. The appropriate material palette has the appropriate sustainability agenda to it. It has the appropriate green noise to it. Everything else is secondary. It's these two things, and therefore that's the importance of materials. Once you're past a layout, what does the client ask you? He asks you for the material palette. What does he want to see? He wants to see the actual material swatchboards. So it's so important.
I would also like to touch a point that while growing up, you all have had experiences, right? Does that somehow imbibe in the design process, or certain materials that have been there in the past, you want to bring them back? Like terrazzo is for sure one of them.
Yeah.
Have you used certain techniques or explored certain techniques?
I think for me, as I have spoken innumerable amount of times about doing projects in Kashmir,
Yeah.
I think I was not really able to have a childhood there. And now that I'm going back and working there, there are a lot of things that I've seen there as a kid, probably in my nanny's house or
Yeah.
ancestral houses, which are not there anymore. I try to work and bring those elements. Like there is paper mache, there is carving. So that's why wood is again becomes
So
my
there is
favorite.
subconscious, and you kind of imbibe that in your design process.
Yeah, because then that's why I went to actually look for work there, because I felt I could connect more to, you know. So yes, that's why wood kind of takes a lot of precedence, because you know there's a lot of wood used there, and there is pirakari type of jali work done. And there is decorative elements. They are there. Then there's a certain kind of wooden paneling done along with the carpet and the paper mache. So yeah, for me it is more of I think like a coming home kind of.
And
a
also
thing.
it's a contextual and a regional use, which you have
Of
seen
course it
during
is, of
times.
course, and of course even there, as I spoke earlier, things are changing, and we have cement-clad cold houses and everything. So I'm just trying to educate so people go back to their native ways of building houses. So yeah, I think that kind of is how I would say culturally I've just gone back somewhere and trying to bring back something into my work.
Great. Anyone wants to add on to that?
So yes, I would
Yes.
like to. When I started, this market was totally covered by this Katni marble and white marble. Ambaji were
Yeah.
hot cake, and then makarana. So yes, I fell in love with Ambaji marble because it had all the grains, veins, and the very nice luster in it. But somehow after few years, this is like vanished from market.
Yeah.
And I would love to play around this. These days we are working with Banswara and all, but somehow I'm always missing that Ambaji wala feel and how we can incorporate in our project.
But why do you think it has vanished? Is because the mines are not there, or the people who used to work on it were not there?
People, no. So it is like I felt that people are this has become expensive in cost, and when we recommend it in our project, clients are like, ma'am, when it is in the range of 1,000 rupees, why not to go for good Italian? We can go for Michelangelo or Sarpario, those kind of stuff. So that changes our whole love with the Indian products, and in that case we have to get into
educate
this,
the client as well
yeah.
for the use. Please, would you like to add? So,
No, so I was just thinking, I think materiality has a lot to do with craftsmanship. The ability to craft. So you were talking about terrazzo. Perhaps the most difficult job today on planet Earth is to get good terrazzo work done. It's the most wonderful material. You see it in all the old Jorba, golf links, all the other. You see a lot of Art Deco stuff in Mumbai.
So how come the word green materials, sustainable materials, non-sustainable materials, or for materials, as you say? Just elaborate on this. What's the thought process about this? And is it a conscious or a informed decision that you are taking, or educating the clients about it?
It's for me.
Yes, please.
Okay. So yes, it is a conscious act for me, but somehow when working on luxury projects, this becomes a little tough for introducing those green elements and green products to make it more sustainable and those kind of stuff. But somehow the way we can incorporate, this is our responsibility to incorporate those basics to maintain this sustenance. And somehow most of the things clients are ready to incorporate. Few of the elements, like when they are looking for a very nice luxury house, I cannot say that we'll go for those Indian and those rustic kind of stone here, because that is not complementing with the palette and with the style we have picked. So there we have some limitation, but when it is like how we can manage the light coming in the house and how we can maintain the air circulation, those things are really matters.
So I think this is all about responsible materiality, which is something we don't look into. Now, I'm happy to say that I had started a forum called the Storybox a couple of years back, which is now closed. Like any startup, not every startup goes ahead. And this startup was really about looking at materials in the right way and trying to bring the importance of materials ahead. And we were wanting to encourage people like you mentioned, who were making straw boards or who were making, bricks and blocks from bagasse or other waste materials and using alternate things. But we found that our country was not evolved in accepting this. And we found that, there was a cost to this. So till the time the cost becomes equal or lesser, you can't really bring this into the mainstream because it's not viable.
True.
And so with all the honorable intents, we had to close down our platform and we had to really, go back to where we came from.
That's what Trump also said.
So I would like to add
Please.
to this. So usually when we talk about sustainability, the common perception that a layman has is, it won't look that pretty. It won't be that luxurious to look at. So then they refrain from using sustainable materials. But recently I visited a resort in Faridabad. So it's all made out of rammed earth. And it looked beautiful. There was no, in no way anyone can say it doesn't exude luxury. And rammed earth is locally used soil that is available, and it is thick, so it provides insulation, and it has its varied properties of colors also depending on the mix of the soil that is used. So, but it looked beautiful. So these kind of examples are also there. So not necessarily people have to have that mindset that sustainable materials will look ugly or will look, not luxurious.
And that's what's called responsible luxury.
Yeah.
I think educating the clients, like for me, has been very hard because, like for example, replacing block boards, plyboards, there is a company that is selling an alternative, and it's called straw structure. And I have been trying to use their products in the cabinetry and a lot of cabinetry, everything, but the clients are not agreeing somehow because they just, maybe it's just to playing safe or something, that they're just comfortable with this product and it's been used since ages and everybody's using it. So okay, so there's this new product, and whether it's going to last long or not, and whether they're not very sure of using it, and it's just too much of push and pull that I'm trying to do, and getting people to use it. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And apart from, I would just like to add a very small point here. That we're talking a lot about materials, but I see there's a lot of water wastage on site. I mean, one is about in the construction activities and everything, and there are no proper channels to utilize. And when we talk about recyclability, so when we suggest materials to clients, of course we do think about, okay, what will happen to this material at the end of its life cycle? Is it toxic to the environment? How's it going to be disposed? Can it be recycled? But even if you give clients an option of, okay, so you're shifting from an old house to a new house, so maybe you have timber frames, they can be used as somewhere they will not show, but people don't want to because they're like, oh, it's a new house, we're not going to use anything that's old. So I think it's
a renovation whole.
Everything has to be new. Everything should be new. Why should we use anything that's old? So I think people are not very sensitive, and it will take a long way. But of course,
I think it is because of that landfill is increasing. Because I read it somewhere, what we are producing as Delhi in 1 month, we are recycling in 1 year. So that's why it's going up.
And the worst is that single-use plastics too, right? You wrap a door once, plastic में, फिर आपका cardboard में, फिर they go inside these boxes, then they come on site. you really can't do much with it because that's how it's meant to be.
And
But
then
but
once
there are
it is-
cities like Copenhagen,
I'm
out
sorry?
of Copenhagen, out
Yeah.
of Denmark, right?
Yeah.
The capital, which is also the architecture capital
Right.
today. And I learned over there. I was traveling, and there are architects like Jack Ingels, you know,
Yeah.
big,
The big group.
yeah, and there's Spacebox. These
Right.
guys are creating like acrylic panels, but
Right.
out of seaweed.
Yeah.
When they
Yes,
do
I
a
have heard
project,
about it.
they scavenge for the all the materials which is left over in the city, bring it to the studio, and then think of a design process, how this can be started. But then again, having said that, Denmark, being a developed country, has the it is considered the recycle house of the whole of Europe. They recycle everything that comes
And
from
plus, they have
Europe
the
over there.
resources and the money to do that.
Yes,
and the
because as I said, they're
manpower and the
developed. So
skill.
this will happen simultaneously in India.
Yeah.
But
In
yes,
India as
we
well.
should be the hat bearers who should start
Yes.
doing this. I would say that.
So a very interesting project I had done a few years back for a very good, very responsible carpet manufacturer. And he came up with this idea that can we work on reincarnation? So I said, do you want me to come back after I die? And then we meet again.
And maybe
He
I
said,
become
no.
the client and you
He
become
said,
the
that,
architect.
can we look at materials which were meant for something and then reincarnated again?
Yeah.
Right.
I said, okay. So we got down to doing it, and obviously, we started doing a whole lot of things. I can tell you the most wonderful chandelier was made using, hold your breath, used Pepsi cans and Fanta cans, etc., strung together in different levels with uplighters, and became the talking point of the entire office. Beyond that, we did a whole lot of other things. We used OSB board, we used chipboard, we used all sorts of things which were packaging materials, made tables out of them. We need clients like that.
Right.
We need to create somewhere as architects, we need to be activists.
Yes.
Right.
We have to be activists of change. We have to be guardians of design. We got to be a whole lot of things.
And I like that this is a small intervention, but maybe
Yeah.
something or
It's a
the other.
start of something.
Maybe as an artwork, you start doing that. And
Yeah.
I think it's a conscious decision that we should start taking up.
Yeah.
So, having said that, what do you think are the emerging materials? And what are the new technologies that you are looking at for shaping up your projects going further?
Oh, please.
Right. So, concrete has taken good space in market, and apart from concrete, whenever we are using whatever type of materials, in most of the cases, jointing and bendability is a concern.
Yeah.
So, what I believe that definitely industry is working around it, and if we can minimize those pain points like how we are going to work on jointing and how we are going to bend the thing, and the look and feel of that material, then the economical material is also easy to implement. And when we are talking about those, I'll be talking about residential projects only, but when we are recommending, we should not go for toxic things. PU is being used so widely and
super
everywhere,
Yeah.
and that is
Yeah.
super toxic. So how we can what is the alternate material for this, and how we can substitute it with which is sustainable, and at least in future or over the years it can be implemented. But I would love to work with those kind of material.
Okay. Piyush?
Yeah, for the emerging materials and technologies, I think technology-wise, yes, me as an architect or the buildings around me are going more towards parametric forms.
Yes.
Those technologies are coming in place, and eventually the material, yes, because the parametric forms is really hard to do in for smaller sites. It's very hard to do in RCC. So yes, we are going ahead with some materials like zinc, aluminium, in a metal frame, and maybe Korean as well. So of course these are the new materials that I think are shaping up the society and would be shaping up the society in near future.
Shweta, would you like
I
to add
am
something?
following cross-laminated timber skyscrapers
Exactly.
because I've seen, the buildings in Australia, Europe, and I'm just waiting with bated breath as to see, okay, what's going to happen with this, because of course, wood as a material is more natural and it doesn't have so many emissions as concrete, and so I'm just, wanting to see if ever I can explore that. Just waiting for that
We are also
technology
working
to
with certain
emerge.
projects in Canada which are GLT and
Really?
CLT. So
I
which
would
is
love
very
to talk
interesting.
to you about that.
Yeah.
I think 3D printing is such an interesting thing. I mean, somehow we are using it to make models. I'm sure it's going to evolve.
Yes.
People have already started making buildings with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a negative side to that. That it's least labor intensive. It's very technology intensive. But I'm waiting for a time when that can really apply to making materials. So imagine 3D printed blocks, the most perfect blocks, which are so perfect you'd want to put them on a bookshelf rather than on the wall. Or imagine having terracotta, which is 3D printed. Imagine having the whole vast range of it. If 3D printing could apply into making the units of construction, I think it opens up a whole.
I think there is a
Pandora's
startup that
box.
is doing that,
Yeah.
and they're coming up with even they are 3D printing via concrete. So the usage is 40% lesser because carbon footprint of concrete is way high.
Yeah.
And the same they're using plastic wire, which is again recycled plastic, as the binding element, and then they're creating a whole structure out of it. So that's a good thought. You would like to add something?
I
please?
would love to sort of go back to more recycled products. There's a company that's making leather out of pineapple waste. There's a company that's
Must be
making.
tasty.
Imagine material which you could eat.
Seriously, I just when she said pineapple,
licking it
I
off the
said,
wall.
wow,
Break the
that's
house
so
and you eat it
interesting.
up, huh?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, and I think just at this point, I'm very looking forward to sort of getting something in the Indian main market, the mainstream market, where anything that's out of plastic, and if we can get a decent price point, would be great. I'll make it work with my clients. I'll convince them, but at least give me something. I'm not seeing anything that's in our mainstream market that would be effectively used on a wardrobe panel, or let's say behind a marble wall.
Okay.
Right now we put masala, chipkate hain, wait karte hain, all of that. Can something be done with that? I'm really looking forward to that.
Great.
Because also it's sort of I have a heart-wrenching moment every time I see a video of fishes dying, the coral reef dying. So I think I'm sure there's startups out there, but they've not reached the mainstream market just as yet.
Having said about plastic, if we go for a blood test, we will have microplastics in our body. We have consumed that 100%. Yes. Sparshi, would you have a thought process about it?
Yeah, so in emerging materials, I would agree with Manjari, concrete. So I've heard of this self-healing concrete material.
Yes.
So that is a very interesting material. Then even shape-changing material, which changes its shape with the temperature change in the atmosphere. So and light-emitting concrete. So the concrete is porous and it emits light. So you don't have to use a lot of glass in your building. Concrete will do the job of glass as well. So these kind of materials which are technologically very advanced. So I would love to use these kind of materials in my projects.
There's bioconcrete as well.
Yeah, bioconcrete as well.
So it becomes a moss wall.
Yeah, interestingly
Water
enough, now
That is-
to work on our carbon footprint, we're doing a office space that will hopefully not have any ACs. So we'll have a kind of system that is like this.
Is it here?
Is it the Punjabi Bagh? So we're working on
in
it.
Delhi.
It's in Delhi, yeah.
And if take care of the pollution a bit in Punjabi Bagh, I guess.
Yeah, but how do you maybe come up with a different idea that's you don't use air conditioning.
It's
You
hard to
can't stop the
convince
facade, it's already
people,
up there,
but
right? So can you
yeah.
come up with a way that you don't use VRVs? How do I get the office to be essentially cool
It's a
throughout the
challenge.
year?
I personally don't use air conditioning at night now, and I feel my health is better. I've been just
Definitely.
test trying it since
Yeah.
a few months. So yeah, I think
I think it's all about going back to a roots
Yeah.
and figuring out
courtyards.
the olden ways.
Olden ways, yes.
Yeah.
Olden ways.
So the principles of vernacular architecture are pretty
Yes.
dominant.
Yeah.
If you start doing that, then we
Yeah.
all will not be sitting in an air-conditioned space like this and having the breeze from outside coming in. But
Totally.
so I think we have kind of wrapped up